Yes. Yes, so this is Advanced Math, Final Review, Unit 2, and I'm open for questions.
Number 2.
Yeah. Wait, can you do
2?
1? Because I just can't remember the answer.
Okay, 1 and 2? Yes. 1,
I mean, not 4. 6.
6. Okay, we're going to do these 4, and then we'll open up for any others. Number 1, is this the one that's 7 over 12, that one? Minus 1 over x equals 3 over 4x. Nolani, can you tell me what you did?
Well, I tried clearing everything by multiplying by common denominator, so I did 12x.
Mm-hmm. All right, so the 12's reduced, leaving behind what?
7x minus...
Oh, crossed out the wrong thing, sorry. Minus
12.
equals 4x reduces with 12x and makes it a 3, and it's just 9, right? Because the x is reduced. Is that maybe where the mess up was?
I think so.
Okay, well, let's go and finish it off. Add the 12. What's 9 plus 12? 7x equals 21. What was the answer on the back? Okay, so now it works. And you weren't the only one. A few people yesterday, when I walked around between this class and 6th, had put an extra x there, but realizing the x is reduced. Questions on number 1? Okay, number 2. 5 over x minus 5 over x minus 3 equals x minus 6 over, can we go ahead and factor that? 2x minus 12 with the GCF, like this. All right, those of you who've done this one, tried this one. I know a few of you did it yesterday and had the right answer. What can I reduce? Before I reduce, I'm going to come back up here. It didn't impact the answer, but when we did this unit, remember we always look for our restrictions first. In the very beginning, what can x not equal? X cannot equal 0 from this one up here. Do you guys agree? And x equals 3 was an okay answer because it wasn't 0. So it was, we would have been okay, but you want to make sure on the test that you don't end up with answers that are extraneous solutions. There are 3 things that x cannot equal here. 0 is one of them because of that. And I heard 3, and what's the other one? 6. All right, we just want to make sure that we find our restrictions before we reduce. Restrictions always come first. All right, 5 over x minus 5 over x minus 3 equals 1 over 2. And what do we multiply everything by to clear? Two x minus 3. 2x x minus 3 to every single term. All right, first one, what reduces? The x, leaving behind 2 times 5, which is 10. I'll distribute, sorry, in the next step. X minus 3, leaving behind what on the outside? 2x parentheses x minus 5 equals 2 reduces, leaving behind x with the x minus 3. Before I go any further, will you guys double check that and see if you agree?
Why isn't the x minus 6 equal
Because we reduced it. Yeah, as long as you take it as part of your restriction, since it's in the denominator, you can reduce it. All right, what can we do with the 10? Distribute. 10x minus 30 minus 2x squared minus what? Or plus what? 10x, and it's plus, do you guys see that? Equals x squared minus 3x. All right, are there like terms on this side? These right here? Plus 20x minus 30 equals x squared minus 3x. All right, I have to get everything equal to 0 so I can factor and solve, so I could use the zero product property. Before I do that, it's easier to move this way, but I want my leading coefficient to be positive, so which way should I move it? And if you did move it to the left, that's okay. You just divide everything by negative at the end. I'm just going to move it the other way to save that step later. All right, so what does that leave me with? 0 equals what? 3x squared minus 23x plus 30. Did anybody finish this one off, by the way? Did you get this far? All right, and then what did you do with what was left? Factored it. 3x and x, and we know it has to be minus and minus. Can you tell me what numbers you used? 5 here and 6 here. Does that multiply to positive 30? And negative 5 and negative 18, does it add up to the negative 23? All right, x equals, fraction is 5/3, comma, what's this here? Okay, did anybody get this far on their own? Did anybody get this far and wonder when you checked your answer why 6 wasn't one of the answers initially? No, some of you did. Initially, like what? Did you guys eventually figure it out? Because of the extraneous solutions. You have to be careful. So, do you think on the final next week that x equals 5/3 comma 6 would be one of the multiple choice solutions, one of the multiple choice answers? Yes. Would you get it wrong if you marked that one? Yes. And unfortunately, you do all this work and you see the two answers and you're super excited because, yeah, I got it right and it's wrong. So be careful with the extraneous solutions because it's not going to give you any kind of hints of, hey, there's possibly an extraneous solution. You just need to know to check it. Make sense?
You know, at the time of an extraneous solution, is one of the denominators is 0.
You can have extraneous solutions on fractional equations that have a variable in the denominator or ones where there's a square root in the original problem, which did happen. I know a few of you asked on that one. They said, I got 2 answers, but the answer key only has 1. I think they were working ahead to another, oh no, maybe like number 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, those type of problems can have extraneous solutions as well. Okay? Questions on number 2? All right, so a note for the test, make a note to yourself, be careful with extraneous solutions. Because when they happen on the test and the final, it's going to give you that as a distractor, and if you didn't check it, you're going to get it wrong. All right, number 5. Square root of x equals 2, 4th root of x minus 1. Before I do this one, anybody figure this one out? Okay, she said I used photomath and it said use substitution. Can you?
Yeah, I did. It had like 2 T's.
Okay. Here is when I see it, the first thing that clicks in my head is the there's a square root and a 4th root. And we did make a big deal about it in notes way back. I know it's been a while. Does anybody remember, I'm looking forward to notes as I speak. Does anybody remember what I said about when there's a 2 different indexes, like this is a square root, that's a 4th root? Does anybody remember what I said? What was that? Can we add them together? No. It's like x squared and x cubed. You can't add them together.
Do you change them?
Do we change them? Good job. Be more specific.
Like x 1/2 and then whatever 40?
Good job. She is correct. And I couldn't find it in notes, but it's in there somewhere. Did you just remember or did you use your notes?
I remember, but then I was just like, maybe I'm wrong. So.
No, you are right. Okay, x to the 1/2 minus 2x to the 1/4 minus 1. Do you guys see that? I'm going to put it equal to 0. Which one's bigger, 1/2 or 1/4? So I want that to come first. X to the 1/2, take away 2x to the 1/4 plus 1 equals 0. When I factor, what comes here as the exponent? Do you guys remember that it's always the middle, or you can take half of a half. Half of a half is 1/4. Minus minus, and it's going to be minus minus what? 1 and 1. Before I go any further, do you guys, now that Josie pointed that out, do you guys remember it? All right, so put a note to yourself. 2 different radicals, 2 different indexes here, change to exponential form, and then factor and solve. All right, are these 2 exactly the same?
Yes.
Do I have to solve them both individually if they are the same? All right, add the 1. X to the 1/4 equals 1. What do I do to both sides? I raise both sides to what power? To the 4th. And 1/4 and 4 cross out. 1 to the 4th, what's my final answer? What is it? 1. X equals 1. Do you have to check them? Plug. Not when there's different ones like 1/2 and 1/4, not those. When they're all square roots or they're all 4th roots, those are the ones you have to go back and check. Got it? Questions on number 5? All right. Number 6. X squared parentheses x plus 3 equals x plus 3. All right. I remember this one when we did this back in Unit 2, and I remember it coming up on the test, and I remember a lot of kids missing it. I remember this because I figured what could I do differently so that it would stick in their head better. And the only thing I couldn't think of is substitution, which is what I used to do in previous years. Do you see that these 2 are the same? Yes or no?
Yes.
Call them both U. Because right now, if you distribute your x squared, subtract the x, subtract the 3, you're not going to have the tools to factor that. So call them both U. X squared U, take away U, equals 0. And I jumped the gun there. Let me rewrite it first. X squared U equals U. Not the only way to do it, guys. But again, this one was one of the ones that were missed a lot on this test. I need the talking to stop, please. Do you see where this U came from and where this U came from?
Oh, yeah.
Yes? Subtract the U over. X squared U minus U equals 0. Are these 2 like terms? Can I subtract those 2 U's? No, because this one's attached to an x squared. So I GCF it. What's my GCF?
U.
Leaving behind just x squared or x squared minus 1?
X squared minus 1.
U and then x plus 1, x minus 1. What was U to begin with? X plus 3, x plus 1, and x minus 1. And could you guys solve from there? Does that make sense? Should have taught it this way back in the unit. I think I should have, because I didn't. I just did straight GCFing and kids messed up on the test. All right, so when you see these, when you're solving and you see these 2, this one over here on the right side was not in parentheses. I put the parentheses there to recognize, hey, I can use U for both of them. Subtract the U, GCF the U, factor in this piece here, put the U back in. What are my 3 final answers?
-3, -1.
Good, -1 and 1. Questions? Four and 9. Is that a yes?
Wait, are you doing it for something?
4 and 9 were the ones that were asked. 4, 7, 9?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. X minus the square root of 3 minus x equals 3. Suggestions? Move the x. Okay, before I square everything, I do have to move the x over. That I can't square with that x sitting there. So negative square root 3 minus x equals 3 minus x. What should I divide by still before I square? Negative 1. Technically, it's okay if you didn't divide by the negative 1. You did have to move the x over. When you squared it, you just put x squared and then cross that out?
I thought x squared minus 3 minus x equals 9.
And if it came out right, that was just mathematics. That will not always happen. So be careful. All right, square root of 3 minus x equals positive x minus 3. Do you guys see how positive x minus 3 comes out? All right, what do I do to both sides? Now I square. They undo each other because square roots and squares are inverses of each other. And do I distribute the exponent on the right-hand side? No. X minus 3 times x minus 3 gives me what? X squared minus 6x plus 9. Is it ready to factor and solve, or do I have to get it equal to 0 first? Equal to 0 first. All right, 0 equals x squared minus 5x plus 6. You guys have got it from there? Be careful with the 6 and the 5, because sometimes it's 2, 3, sometimes it's 6, 1. You have to be careful with your signs. When it's 6 here and 5 here, sometimes it's 2, 3, sometimes it's 6, 1. You have to be careful with your signs. So going back really quick, can I square everything from the get-go? No, that's mathematically incorrect. I can't square, square, square because of that minus sign right there. Got it?
So x was equal to 3 and 2.
X minus 2, x minus 3, x equals 2 and 3, and does it have one of those answers missing?
Yeah.
Why is that? What I said earlier. Remember when I pointed out, I said, oh, like problems, and I named a few problems, 3, 4. I said when there's square roots in the beginning, do you have to check? Yes? Okay. Which ones shall we check first? 2? Are you guys okay if we check 2 first? When you check it, you plug it into the original problem before you moved anything over, before you squared anything, before you reduced anything, as is. 2 minus the square root of 3 minus 2 equals 3. 2 minus the square root of what? 1. And what's the square root of 1? And what's 2 minus 1? Is 2 minus 1 equal 3? Yes or no? No. Was 2 the solution they left out? Okay, so we can see right now is, what do we call that? It starts with an E, EX. Extraneous solution. We didn't make a mistake in any of our work. It just does not work. All right, let's now check x equals 3. 3 minus the square root of 3 minus 3, that's a lot of 3's, equals 3. What's 3 minus 3? Square root of 0. And 3 minus 0. And does that equal 3? Yes. So another chance, another opportunity I'm having to tell you, be careful with extraneous solutions. On the test, on the final next week, do you think one of the possible multiple choice answers will be 2, 3? Yes, it'll say x equals 2, x equals 3, x equals 2 and 3, or none of these, or no solution, and blah, blah, blah. But most likely that will be one of the distractors. Be careful. All right. How many questions are there on the final?
Oh, no.
No? All right. Yes, yes. All right. 7. 6x to the negative second minus x to the negative 1 minus 1 equals 0. Who's asking for this one? 7.
Me now.
All right. Any thoughts at all, Janelle, on this one?
So what I did was put everything as a fraction.
Okay. So can you tell me how you wrote this first one?
1 over 6x squared minus 1 over x to the first. Minus 1 over 1. Is that wrong?
Is it wrong?
Yes.
What?
That's wrong.
Okay. I wrote it down just to see if anyone would stop me, but can anybody point out which part that she wrote is incorrect? Yes.
The 6.
Supposed to be 6 on the top.
Why?
Because the exponent is only on the x.
Good job. All right, so Janelle, make a note to yourself right now not to make the mistake on the test. And I'm going to do one more step with you. I think you guys can finish it from here. What would you multiply everything by? X squared. Leaving you with 6, take away what? What does that reduce to? X minus. All right, you can finish. You have choices. Factor backwards, or because there's an equal sign, could you divide everything by -1 and rearrange? Or you can move everything to the other side and rearrange. Totally your choice. Or factor backwards. Janelle, you can finish it from there?
Sure. I'll try.
You can. I have faith in you. All right, number 9. Do we need number 9?
Yep.
Yes.
Trevor, can you give me any thoughts on this one?
Well, I was thinking maybe turn them into fractions.
Okay, like Janelle said on the last one, can you tell me how to rewrite them?
I wasn't really sure.
Okay, anyone else rewrite? Does this one move or stay? So I'm just going to put over 1. Trevor, on this one, the 8 moves or stays?
8 stays.
The 8 stays. And the next one is just 6 over 1.
Yeah.
All right, what do we multiply everything by? X to the 1/3. All right, on this first one here, nothing reduces, but when I multiply like bases, what do I do with the exponents? So x to the 1/3 plus 1/3 is 2/3. This one reduces completely. Minus what? Do you see it now?
Yeah.
All right, can you tell me how to rearrange it?
X to the 2/3 minus 6x to the 1/3.
All right. And one last question for you, Trevor. When you factor, what are your exponents?
1/3 and 1/3.
1/3 and 1/3. Good job. I'll let you guys finish it from there.
Yes.
Can you finish number 7? 'Cause
Finish
the
number
negative
7?
X squared. Wait. I didn't. Taking a picture of number 9. Yeah. Because the X squared is like throwing me off.
Because it's negative?
Yeah.
Okay, so did you hear? I don't know if you had heard what I said. Because there's an equal sign, you could divide it, you could factor backwards, that's one choice. Or you could divide everything by a negative and rearrange it. Or you can move everything to the other side. Which choice would you make?
Divide everything by negative.
So positive x squared plus x minus 6 equals 0. And that you can do?
Yes.
Okay. All right, any others?